is Clayton Howe's Entertainment X. Part 2 with Jim Meskimen continues the conversation on relationships in the industry, listening, and so much more. So I hope you enjoy Part 2 with Jim Meskimen. Is there a particular project that has taught you the most about yourself, or a significant amount about yourself?
Oh my, that's a very good question. The first thing I thought of was I when I was doing commercials when I first started out. I lived in New York, and I knew that my mom had kept us going as a family. She was a single mom raising two kids. She kept us going by every now and then. She'd book a commercial, and that was like a windfall because it wasn't a lot of money, but it was. She didn't have to struggle quite so much. So I thought when I went to New York, well, I should probably see about getting into commercials so I can kind of finance all these other really artistic things that I have going on that pay nothing. So some of the first commercials I ever got were the most difficult, demanding kind of challenges that I ever faced as a performer for quite a long time. And there was one where, and it teaches you, right? You go, wow, this is tough. And I got 40 people looking at it, and we're on the clock. And what if I can't do this? No, I have to do it. And, you have to push through. And there was this very challenging special effects shoot. This is before all the digital things that have made special effects shoots so easy. But I was to be, a spokesman for Quality Inn's hotels. And I was in a suitcase. I came out of the suitcase, and then I picked up another suitcase, put it beside me. I came out of that suitcase, and by the end of it, there would be 3 images of me coming out of 3 different suitcases and talking and interacting and speaking super fast because 30-second commercials have no room to breathe. Yeah. And it all had to be done within the same take, basically, or the same film magazine. That was when there were film magazines on the camera. So there was a certain limitation to how many mistakes you could make before we had to start all over again. And we were working on it and working on it and working on it to the point where I was like, oh my God, nobody's ever done this. Somebody wrote it on a piece of paper, and now we're supposed to achieve it. And like, it was driving me crazy. And everybody was kind of like drumming their fingers on the desk and looking at me. And I guess what I learned was, and we did finally eventually pull it off, but it was like, wow, I guess I learned like you learn at various times that if something is important to you, for whatever reason, it's your job or trying to save a life, something really, really important, not just doing a commercial, right, then there is a certain power and thrust to that intention and a decision to come hell or high water, pull it off. I think a lot of people have experienced that, and probably in much more serious ways than I did then, but that was the one that came to mind.
Yeah, it's definitely that pushing through. Are we going to give up, or are we going to just get to the other side?
Can we punt? No? Okay.
We're going to run.
You're going to run. Sometimes you have to. Yeah.
Professional relationships in the industry. I'm curious what your views are. I would imagine it's not a coincidence that you've worked with Ron Howard 5 times, but it's because you work well together. Anything that comes to mind on your views of professional relationships?
Well, obviously, relationships in human life are so important. So in show business, it's no different. It's not carte blanche. You can't just be the son of somebody and instantly walk into a great role, for example. Maybe you can have an opportunity. Maybe you get a leg up. That's what I feel like I got. I got a little bit of an advantage, because I met Ron Howard. Now, who knew Ron Howard was going to become one of the top directors in civilization?
Yeah.
We didn't necessarily know that. We knew he was interested, but he was always very kind to me, and so that was helpful. But I had to prove myself, and I auditioned for Ron for the first movie I did, and I guess I did okay, So he continued to hire me. But relationships are, I guess, they're kind of an offshoot of one's brand. If we talk about branding, I think I go by the definition that Gary Vaynerchuk says, where your brand is just your reputation, right? Yeah. And relationships are influenced very much by reputation. We were doing a kitchen bath remodel, and we met a contractor because he had a good reputation with a friend of ours.
Mhm.
And it turns out, it's all going pretty smooth.
Hmm.
If you just hired someone out of the Yellow Pages, or what used to be called the Yellow Pages, I don't know what color they are today, then you don't quite have that security of reputation, and so you might compromise a little bit. But like I've made some really great friends in show business that I've worked with for decades, and they're just like people that I love, and I know they love me,
Hmm.
and they've proven themselves again and again, and I've certainly tried to do my best to always deliver. The guys, Greg and Evan Spiridelis, that started the Jib Jab brand, that did a series of very breakthrough animations, and now have a company, a bunch of various animated series for kids called Ask the Storybots on Netflix.
Hmm.
I've worked with them since the early 2000s, and we met and became friends. And then I did them some favors with my voice, and voiced some things for them. And then they gave me some opportunities, and we have very happily co-conspired on quite a number of creative projects. And they take me along with them with their shows, and I provide what they need and help them to grow and build. So it's very organic. It's what people do. I know when I get a good break and I have an opportunity, I'm very happy to share it with friends that can maybe fit into some of those slots.
Hmm. Yeah, and I've heard this before. I'm trying to remember how it was phrased. But if you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want, essentially. And how
Yeah.
cyclical it is, karma.
Yeah, and that's a foundation too of the improv that I studied. So I was very into improv in New York, and I've been on Whose Line Is It Anyway, and done a lot of things with improv. And that is all about, I think, when it's taught well, it's taught in a variety of ways, but when it's taught well, it's look to your partner, look to that other actor, and give them what they need. Take your attention off yourself,
Hmm.
and then they will reciprocate, and then you can create art that way. If you're only thinking about yourself and the clever thing you could say and what you need, you're not there really for your other partner. And that works, I think, in a marriage as well, and a lot of other relationships too. What do they need? Work on providing that, and expect and anticipate that they're going to return the favor.
Hmm. In life, how do you, if you do, balance achievement versus fulfillment?
Hmm. Well, let's see. Achievement is actually getting something done and completing something, and fulfillment is kind of the net result of that, right? It's the feeling that one gets. Um, they're quite related, aren't they? I think,
Yes.
now there are certain assignments that I get, or parts that I play, where the achievement, it kind of balances out the fulfillment, or the fulfillment is not really what I'm going for, necessarily. I do a lot of work that is just kind of work that people need. And do I feel fulfilled? I'm happy that they're happy. It doesn't mean too much for me. Sometimes I'm working on things where I've achieved something, like, well, going back to one of my happiest assignments was working for Ron Howard, on Apollo 13. And I worked on that picture for a month, and I learned all about the space program, and I got to portray a mission controller. And so, every week I had achieved my week of work, but the fulfillment was quite strong, because that is a meaningful and positive and unique story that I was really happy to be part of. And I know everybody was that worked on it, all the actors. We felt like this is actually a story that matters. This is not just some crappy tale about, firing machine guns off or having a monster bite your neck. This is kind of about something. So that the fulfillment was, I think, even was much greater than the achievement of, wow, I got that paycheck, or I
Hmm.
finished that week of work and I wasn't late too much.
Was that energy on set every day with Apollo 13, of the gravitas of what this story meant and what it could teach someone?
Yeah, I wouldn't describe it as gravitas particularly, but I know, yeah, I think you're on the right track. Yeah, it was like the purpose of it was a good purpose, and that was always present.
Hmm.
Our movie sets are long and boring, regardless of what story you're telling. So, lot of waiting around. But that's what craft service is for. You go and get a cup of coffee, and suddenly you're energetic again.
You feel good. Is there
Feel good.
is there a common piece of incorrect advice you hear in life or in your career?
Yeah, I just heard it from a friend day before yesterday. So, and this is very kind of nichey, but if you're an actor, I've noticed that agents and managers have a kind of a disease, and they will tell an actor not to do a lot of promotion on their own. I don't know why they do this, but the friend of mine recently said, "Yeah, my agents told me not to send out a lot of postcards because, or tell them who you're going to send postcards to, and basically putting a stop on the line." And I years ago, an agent advised me, don't hire a PR person to promote, that you're in this movie, and I don't understand it because it's very counterproductive. An actor needs to do whatever they can, I think, within reason and within good manners, to spread the word, to let them know what they're doing, let people know what they're doing, and to become more accessible to audiences and to casting people and people that are making projects. So anything that the bad advice that people get is like, well, I think I will withhold myself and not pester and bother other people with my postcards, with my phone calls, with my whatever invitations to my showcase or whatever. No, that's exactly what you want to do. You want to let people know on a continuous basis. Like think about Coca-Cola. There's a company, I don't know if you realize, Coca-Cola, and they are putting out a kind of a beverage that it's not that healthy.
We don't need it.
Quite famous. Quite famous. Cheap to make, expensive to buy. And how many times is a person confronted by or exposed to a message about Coca-Cola in a day? It's innumerable, right? You go, I don't know. I walked past a thing and there was a sign and there was a commercial and there was a guy and a thing on the radio and you add it up and it's like, I don't know, 50 impressions a day, 100? It depends. If you go to a football game, forget it. You've seen 1,000 images of Coca-Cola. So they don't stop. And they don't really have much to offer, frankly. Forgive me if anybody's working for Coca-Cola, but sugar water. And we, as artists, if I may, shine my own mule post, we have so much more to offer because we have creativity and invention and stuff that's actually kind of good for the soul. And so all that to say is that don't withhold yourself, promote a lot. And if your agent or manager tells you not to, tell them, oh, okay. And then just do it anyway.
Yeah, that I don't follow that piece of advice. I don't understand why you'd want to not constantly be, putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I hear it all the time. It's really funny.
Do you have any favorite books, most gifted books, recent reads that were fantastic?
Yeah, I have a couple. Well, my old standby is Dianetics, L. Ron Hubbard's Dianetics. Fantastic book, changed my life. Recently, I narrate a lot of books. I've narrated, I don't know, 200 books. And I recently read one called The Academy and the Award, about the Academy Awards and how that started. Fascinating. Beautifully written book. Fascinating. We take it for granted, the Oscar and everything.
Yeah.
Boy, there's been some adventures. There's been some real adventures along that line. So I recommend that one highly. And if you want to get the audiobook, I narrated it.
I love
The
it.
Academy. Yeah.
I love it. Metaphorically speaking, if you could put a
Yes.
word or a phrase on a billboard for millions of people to see, does anything come to mind?
Word or a phrase. Something you raised earlier, I think is useful. How about this one? Try listening.
You certainly learn more that way.
It's not a bad thing to remind oneself. I mean, even and I flatter myself that I'm pretty good at communication, but every now and then I've already decided what that person is saying. It's almost like autocorrect. It happens with my wife. She starts to talk and I go, okay, I know where you're going this. I know where you're going this. And then I acknowledge it before she's even done. I know. Let's keep the marriage together. Try listening.
I love that. I love this conversation. I thank you so much for taking the time to hop on.
You've been listening to Entertainment X, the podcast. You can follow Entertainment X on Instagram at _EntertainmentX_. If you haven't yet, go to Apple Podcasts and subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. Join Clay next week for another curiosity conversation on Entertainment X. Thank you for listening.